Splot Studios, the people watching you while you sleep at night, proudly presents
TomHanksgiving, right here every Tuesday. TomHanksgiving, come on and press play. There's Elvis, the host with the most, yada 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 yada. With a different guest each week, they're the smart ones. Each episode's a new movie about Tom Hanks, the man himself. Of course, it's time for TomHanksgiving. It's the best you can get. It's the rootinest, tootinest podcast on the internet. TomHanksgiving.
It's gonna be all these things. I'm gonna close that thing, and then as soon as we roll, John's gonna show up.
Yep.
And it's gonna be great.
Well,
I guess, full transparency. We're recording coming in. No cuts.
This is, oh no.
No cuts. I'm making the claim now. My roommate's gonna come home in the middle of the recording, and we're going full transparent. This is the start of the episode.
Warts included, it's all gonna be here.
Howdy, partner, and welcome to TomHanksgiving. I'm your host, Elvis Kunesh. I'm joined by the amazing Andy Greene.
Yay!
And we're here today to relaunch the show. It's been like 5 months. I don't even know.
Has it? Oh, man.
It's been a while. But we're back, and we're back better than ever for our final season of Tom Hanks. I mean,
Beginning of the end.
The beginning of the end. It's always going to be around because Hanks is still making movies, obviously, but we're running out of weekly stuff to do. So this is kind of our last little run, I think, until we go into semi-permanent hibernation and come out every now
and whenever Toy Story 4 comes out.
Exactly, we'll be back with a vengeance. And we're going to get into more schedule stuff, and you'll know in the coming weeks. But today we're talking about The Circle, Tom Hanks' huge new movie, starring obviously him, Emma Watson, John Boyega, Patton Oswald.
Keep going.
Bill Paxton.
I didn't know that. It hurt.
I mean, I knew it, but I kind of forgot until we were watching the movie, and and
especially the role he plays.
That was, it really worked for the movie, though.
Yeah.
Unexpected emotions. Everybody's in this movie. Freaking Karen Gillan.
Yeah,
Doctor Who.
Karen Gillan kills it.
I love her in this movie.
Yeah.
We're going to talk all about that. But like I said...
Eller Coltrane, the guy from Boyhood. He's Mercer.
Oh, yeah. Dude.
Which,
he was great.
Yeah. No, I want to talk about Mercer.
So... I like I said up front, this is full transparency, no cuts, and I'm doing that just because it's one of us, and I don't want to work that hard at the end of this episode.
Every
no
time you
cuts.
say that, I just get terrified.
Every cough, my roommate John is going to show up in the middle of the episode. It's going to interrupt everything. His audio's going on. This is full transparency, and full spoilers too. This is a brand new movie. You should definitely go see it in the theater. It's out the day this drops. It's been out for its opening weekend. So we'll know if it did well or not by the time this airs. But check it out. It's
worth seeing.
It's worth seeing. There's a lot of great discussions.
It's a thinker.
And we're also going to do some spoilers maybe for the book, because I read the book.
Wow, homework.
I did some homework for the show once.
Oh, man. You make me... Yeah, I'm so proud.
All of I'm proud of myself as well. And
there's a sea change going on.
There is I knew if I was watched, I would read this book. I probably should think about it. We're going to get into what sea change would be like if it was real. But yeah, so full spoilers. We're not going to go over a plot synopsis because you need to see this movie, and there's too much to cover really to go into. But it's like evil Google takes over the world, and
basically
from an intern's point of view,
an amalgamation of all the tech
awesome,
companies.
Cool company.
Yeah.
Even like a little
Facebook.
bit of Pixar in there with like the design, I feel like.
Right.
And
Amazon, yeah.
So where do we start talking about the okay, you came into it much colder than I had because you've only seen trailers, you don't know.
Book.
Yeah. What's your initial reaction?
I mean, it's a good movie. That's a lame first sentence.
You didn't think
I
it
think
sucked?
you need to get that out in the open.
You liked it, or it's a good movie?
I liked it. It's a good movie. It's not an easy movie. It reminded me a lot.
Interesting. It's not an easy movie. Like, it's challenging, or it's hard to... It's not easy to like.
It's just too real in a way.
Okay,
right?
yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Like, I mean, And it's a lot like Black Mirror, which I don't know if you're one of the many people that have gone on that.
As of this recording, I have not seen it.
Yeah, it's basically a Black Mirror movie.
Yeah.
And I would argue some episodes of Black Mirror does it better and more efficiently than this movie does, and that show's incredible. But it's the same kind of theme of technology and what it's doing to society.
Yeah.
And to just people and how connected we are, but in that, how unconnected we are.
How our technology, puts up a barrier between us.
Right, which isn't a new thought yet.
No.
And everyone knows this, yet we still inexorably just keep going closer and closer into this circle. Like, the circle doesn't... And I think what's great about the movie is that, like, parts of this you actually are kind of want to have in your life, and then you realize the horrible things that will come to that. Like, not that it's a surprise that the circle is evil, or that it's not even that it's evil. It has the capacity for evil, and it's like, do we need all these things, or do we want all these things, and the massive collateral damage that comes?
Well, it's really... It was like perfectly primed by they had the trailer for the Inconvenient sequel, the new Al Gore movie following up on climate change, and like that opens up with a clip of Donald Trump just being like the most disgusting politician you've ever seen. And
no surprise being a moron.
Yeah, and the whole purpose of the section of the middle of the movie, and I remember like when I was reading it in the book, so kind of getting ahead of time. Just like the idea that, politicians going transparent. Their every move is available to the public, and it's like that's what there's a goodness to that. It's like that's what it should be like. There shouldn't be these backdoor dealings, but as soon as you go down you take too many steps down that road, privacy starts to evaporate, and we kind of. America as a nation has been going down that path for so long already.
Yeah.
To the point where I think people in our generation aren't as aware of the privacies we've given up than like just our parents or even someone slightly older than us.
That's true. And you kind of just wake up and realize that people know things about you that you really shouldn't. Like Emma Watson's character realizing that they all know that her dad has MS. Mm-hmm. Her dad being Bill Paxton.
Yeah.
His character. Yeah, I mean, it's discomforting, it's disconcerting, it's all those words.
Yeah, and we live in the age now, I think it started after 9/11, as everything did, where we started...
Yes, everything started after
It's instead of BC 80, it's before the towers went down and after 9/11. Or after every incredibly loud, extremely loud and incredibly close.
Right.
That's the marker. But so we've the Patriot Act was huge for kind of taking away freedoms.
Right.
And
privacy and
for security. And that's obviously there's a noble goal in keeping people safe. Like obviously we kind of were talking before the mic started rolling.
Yeah.
That there was
we have
here's a moment of transparency. We have an interruption. John is coming in through the door. He's smiling.
There he is. He's waving.
He's our mercer for the episode.
Oh no,
What's
that doesn't
up, John?
end well for her. You're on mic.
You're on TomHanksgiving right now.
We have to be completely transparent.
Yeah, that's the gimmick of this episode because it ties into the circle. But let's try and make it as compelling as possible. So go ahead and do whatever you need to do. So I was going to say. A lot of the side characters kind of got compressed from what they were in the book. There was a whole other plot where Emma Watson's character, was in a relationship with this guy who was starting the child protection fund, where it was really just that one scene. That was
in the bar with the woman.
The woman. Yeah. It was originally a dude, and they had a whole weird sexual relationship where she was like, "I don't like this guy, but I like the attention I'm getting out of him."
Oh, okay.
And that became a whole thing, and she gave him a hand job, and then that was on a sea change camera, and she was like, "Oh my god, you have to get rid of that! You can't delete the information from the server."
Yeah,
and it was this whole building thing.
Oh god. With the complete transparency, I was just like, there's no way you could ever have any sort of relationship. At least a real one.
No, and it's kind of weird, but they give a little bit of lip service with Hanks, or as Eamon Bailey. He says, well, maybe not when you're going to the bathroom. And then we see that she turns off the audio or the camera.
She gets 3 minutes.
3 minutes, which is ridiculous. I spend like half an hour in the bathroom sometimes.
Well, they want to see you brush your teeth and do all the fun stuff.
Right.
The 3-minute poop, that's...
But she can turn it off, and I remember from the book that like after 10 p.m. it's cool to turn it off. So like that's when you fuck people, I guess. But
no fucking before 10 p.m. in the circle.
I mean, you can, but it needs to be...
It's going to be, everyone gets to watch it. It's porn.
But in terms of... what were we talking about?
Well, I mean, you mentioned the compressing of the characters, and I wanted to ask about that. Well, because I just thought, I mean, we talked about Patton Oswald, and I thought maybe his was a character that seemed very thin in this. Like, he was almost redundant to Hanks. I mean, you need to see that there are more than one person, obviously, that run the company. But, I mean, he barely had, he had basically had one speech, and then he just got to be there as the number two. Right?
You know what I'm going to say? I love Patton Oswald. Anytime he's included, I'm going to be over the moon. But yeah, I was honestly, when I was reading this, because there's the characters of the three wise men who kind of like shaped the
they're
circle. And that's and they're in the movie too. It's Stenton, Patton's character, Bailey, Tom Hanks's character, and then Ty, who is John Boyega's character.
Yeah.
And they kind of created the company in the book and the movie. But in the book, Stenton's character is like this crazy, not crazy, but like he's this very strict, stark, harsh guy.
Okay.
He's kind of like the opposite of a Patton Oswald. And I like how Patton Oswald was kind of like a dick version of himself, but I think it's kind of what we said about Hanks's roles many times in the past when they're kind of thin. You throw Hanks in because he's likable and he kind of brings a warmth and a character to...
Right, it's a shortcut to...
It's a shortcut to a personality.
Yeah.
And I think that's kind of what they did with
Patton Oswald.
Yeah.
They just wanted to... you wouldn't assume necessarily that he's an evil guy right off the bat. You kind of like him.
And I think that this is what we've kind of... I think both of us have said throughout this entire podcast is, let's give Hanks a role where he can... really he can play a villain, but he really trades on that charm, that likability. And Eamon Bailey is perfect at that, because every time he gets up on that stage and he says like these potentially groundbreaking things, you buy into it.
Yeah, you want to follow this guy. I mean, he basically is, kind of the Steve Jobs with more charisma or just a more likable Steve Jobs.
Yeah, because Steve Jobs is almost more like the Stenton character.
Right.
But yeah, he's also the face. And I honestly, I was expecting them to kind of combine Bailey and Stenton into one, but I guess I'm glad that they...
I mean, it makes sense. It's a huge company, so there should be, the COO, the CEO. That makes sense.
Okay, we're jumping around, but
it's the circle.
Everything's connected. Let's talk about the beginning of the film. Let's talk about Emma Watson. What do you think of that?
Our introduction of shit job, bad car, her parent or her dad's sick.
Did the movie feel fast to you?
At the beginning, we needed to get her that job. Yeah. It felt convenient. All that stuff. Okay, she has a friend, I forget her name, Annie. Who's Karen Gillan's character, who basically works at the Circle, calls her in immediately, she gets the job. But I like seeing that interview. I thought they did a really good job of her in our introduction to the Circle, and it was quick, but it was also very effective, I thought. Basically, from her first meeting, the tour with Karen Gillan, where we don't even see what she's pointing at.
I love that sequence.
But also just there's volleyball, there's whatever, there's everything. This is where you're going to work, this is where I'm going to work. And it was great. It was basically like a tour of, every single tech company.
Going into because we were along the ride, along with May for the ride, did you enjoy the circle at that point where you're like, oh, this place looks amazing to work at? How much did you buy into it?
Basically, it's one of those things. You want that money, you want that security, you want the dental.
Yeah.
And because, she had none of this before. And you're sacrificing it to save your dad, right? Not that she knows that she can get them on the health plan at the beginning, but
that's a bonus. Yeah, that is
right.
Not even...
myself, I was just never like, this isn't going to be...
You're already like, oh boy, this is too good to be true, sort of thing.
Customer service, is that's her job, and that's...
Yeah. Customer service sucks.
Yeah, and I feel so bad for people that have to work in it. I mean, people are good at it, and I guess it's an important job.
I will say that the circle, like her, I mean,
But all that stuff was great, I thought, in the movie.
Oh yeah, they do it so well, and it's really funny, but it's also like, it is exciting, and like from the point of view of May's, like just getting out of college, or maybe has been out of college for a while and doesn't know what the fuck she's doing with her life.
Right, which we don't know anything about.
Well, I feel like we don't know what the fuck we're doing with our lives, but we're comfortable with that at our age. Whereas like 5 years ago, we'd be like, "Fuck,
yeah,
the circle's amazing."
Right, you need the circle, and that's what they're preying on.
Yeah, and I have to say, when I was reading the book, and especially when I was watching the movie, I couldn't help but like be amused because basically the orientation process of May, like obviously when it gets to like crazy evil privacy, mostly didn't relate, but the interview process, the orientation process was very much like when I was an intern at BuzzFeed.
Okay.
And just how it's like, this is the coolest company ever, and everybody's super high energy, and everything's like, it's cool, and specifically the scene where she's doing really good at her job, but then she's getting like,
you have to do the party rank
we
thing.
need your participation. You're not at social events. And this is like not a required part of your job, but
you're not there, and it's all about the community.
It's noticeable, yeah.
That was maybe the best scene in the movie.
I love that scene.
The two weird ass coworkers that are clearly like, I mean, it's brainwash, right?
Yeah.
Like it's that cult vibe. Is that what BuzzFeed feels like?
When you're an intern, like, yeah, honestly, I shouldn't say, because I still work there sometimes, but
hey, complete transparency.
Complete transparency. I love my job at BuzzFeed. There's a lot of amazing people there. They are not evil like the Circle, probably.
You're not in the inner circle.
I wouldn't know. I'm a freelancer there, so I wouldn't know.
Yeah.
And now I'll never work there again because of this. Please don't listen. No one listens to the show, please.
Ron Howard and BuzzFeed now.
I've made 2 enemies that will prevent me from ever working again. I'm not sorry about what I said about you, Ron Howard. No shit, yes I am. This transparency thing doesn't work, and we're going to talk about why, but this is a demonstration. But no, it is similar in the sense like that everybody's like, there's a bit of like, oh, drinking the Kool-Aid, this is the coolest thing ever.
Well, they literally have the Kool-Aid scene in there, right?
Exactly, which is great. And it just reminded me of that experience of being like so overwhelmed, like this is it for a while there, and this was right when you were living in the same spot, and we were it enveloped my entire life being an intern there.
Yeah.
And then once getting out of that, and like the relationship I have now it's much healthier, and obviously that really, I know people who are still working not as an interns but in a more full-time capacity, and it kind of does envelop their life, but they work with it. I'm just not. I'm more of a mercer in that way, where it's like I need to take or maybe more of a tie. I need to take a step back.
Right. Well, that freedom is important.
Freedom, yeah.
Which,
but no, I think you're right. That's one of the best scenes of the movie, where it's just like
it's so insidious, but it's also funny.
And it's so real. I think it perfectly. That's the scene that perfectly encapsulates what this movie is. I think.
It's basically them pretending to be transparent.
Yeah.
Kind of. I mean, it's all just bullshit. That's the thing. All this transparency, all the things that they're talking about, these people, it's all a persona that you're creating. It's not really
joining
Holland when you're posting up these things. You're doing it for other people.
Yeah, joining a kayak group doesn't give you any substance of what a person's actually like. That's like a profile on a dating app or something.
Well, and does that work? I mean, a lot of people do find success on dating apps and on.
I haven't so far. Transparency.
but can you really know a person just by reading what they say on that thing? Because I mean, no one's completely transparent on those.
Yeah, exactly.
Even if they think they are, they're not. Like you just separate those things in your head of who you think you are or who you should be.
Well, let's jump into a heavier topic right away. Do you think that you're better behaved when you're being watched? Is that a truth of the movie?
I think. Well, see, it's not. I don't think it's a black and white answer.
No,
but I think technically yes. But then you're not actually being yourself. You're not. You have no freedom in that choice.
You feel like you're not your true self when you're being watched.
And most people,
when
you're your true self, you're not just going to murder someone or...
Let's ignore the microphones that are recording you for for forever and purposes and whatnot.
Yeah.
This is but you're hanging out with me right now.
Yeah.
Are you not being true Andy? Because if I weren't here, would you be doing something else? I mean, obviously.
Well, true. I wouldn't be just recording this by myself.
Ignoring that.
Well, no, but even in the act of being on this couch,
Obviously, this is
recording
performative
podcast,
for a podcast.
Exactly. Like I'm not my.
But are you?
Isn't,
But are you
performative? Sorry.
but okay, you're right. It's performative because we're recording a podcast. But if you was just you and I talking about this movie after the movie,
right?
You're still performative, right? Or are you true Andy there? When are you true Andy?
True Andy's when you're with someone you can trust completely.
When are you true
right?
you?
True you, yeah, exactly. Which should we say that True You is essentially the Facebook weird amalgamation?
Yeah, it's like Google
created.
Plus combined with YouTube combined with everything.
Basically, if all the social media apps were combined into one thing, and then just everyone saw.
But it's also logged to your real name, so you can't have a second account, and it's
right.
That's how it's like, and it's linked to your credit card and your banks and stuff, and it actually seems like
part of that seems very convenient,
very useful, very convenient.
Because I don't want a million passwords, but then also like if you get hacked on the one, you're fucked because that's everywhere, and also the circle knows. So all it takes is one.
They have all your
circle.
information, yeah, which is where it gets shady,
right?
But like I remember when I was reading, this is something they didn't have time to get into in the movie, and I'm already being that annoying guy about.
Be that.
Here's the book, but it's something, and it applies to the topic of like, is this a good thing or a bad thing? Because something that really got me excited when I was reading it. In the book, they had the time to delve into what True You meant and what it solved. It solved a lot of basically internet harassment and shit that's like really that's caused a lot of problems for a lot of people.
Yeah.
Like stuff like Gamergate, and then just like regular stuff like YouTubers or people online getting hate and death threats and getting doxxed, and when everybody is their True You account and you have to be that's your real name, that's who you are.
You can't hide.
There's no anonymous on the internet.
Right. There's there'd be a lot less trolling, obviously, because everyone knows that, oh, okay, this is Brent Michelson who's being a complete dick to this poor woman who said something.
Who's saying you should be raped and whatnot.
Or something awful, yeah.
Yeah. And that's so it would eliminate a lot of trolling, which is like when I that's exciting. Maybe this is a good thing. But
all the
every time you solve a problem, it creates a new problem.
Right, and that's what I think is so good about this movie, and also so scary about it, and scary about the reality we live in tech, because it is. I think most things are created with the good of intentions, but then someone else can take them. All it takes is someone with a different motive, or you piss off someone, or something changes, and you can make money off of it, or I don't know.
Do you think the solutions that come up in the circle, maybe we don't go full transparency, or to the lengths they go by the end of the movie, but do you think some of the solutions would solve the problems we're facing today in our political climate? I mean, the fact net neutrality is like up for grabs right now. It's going to get fucked, and you'll probably never be able to download this podcast because it's not to the company's benefit to give you that access.
That's true.
Which is horrible. And if you haven't been calling your people because you like the internet, this is a bipartisan issue. It's freedom on the internet. Make the calls. I called today and left a message.
Oh, nice.
Do it now. I think it's
after
already
the podcast.
It's already too late, probably.
It's already too late. Oh, no.
but it's because of all these problems we're facing. Do any of these things seem like, oh, maybe this could work. Maybe this could solve.
Almost all of them, in some small way, do, and that's what makes it such a good and scary thing. Because it's like you're intrigued. You're like, ooh, this could help our lives, or this could make things safer, maybe, or we could use that. But I feel like it goes too far. Like you said, I mean, like Soul Search was the most terrifying
Soul Search
thing.
is scary as fuck.
Which but that's kind of like Find Your Phone in a weird way, and then you can just take it.
Maybe if it was Find Your Phone, it'd be more, but because everybody has their phone, it's essentially the same thing. But you could leave your phone and then be off the grid.
Right.
There's obviously the scary things about Soul Search that are implied in the video and how it steals people's privacy. But on the other hand, I'm thinking about like, oh, what's the terrible things I would do with Soul Search? Not like I'm gonna use it to commit crimes, but it's like we Facebook stalk people, or like what's this person doing, or like, oh, that was a girl. What's up with that cute girl? would I soul search them? And obviously they would
Yeah.
know if we're in that point of full transparency. But like, even if they didn't know, I feel like that might not be a power I want to have. To know where everybody is at any moment, especially if it's like, hey, how come I'm not hanging out with my friend today? And you soul search and they're just like fucking around.
Yeah. Like I said no to you when you invited me to a movie because I made up an excuse.
Yeah.
Now
That's where white lies are so necessary. And it's just like
secrets are lies.
Secrets are lies, but that's bullshit.
Well, no,
But lies aren't always bad.
And you also don't want to know everything.
No.
And that's what Tom Hanks says. Knowing everything is better than knowing.
Knowing is good. Knowing everything.
I don't think it is.
No.
And it's impossible to know everything no matter what.
Also because you can't know everything because so much of it is based on experience. The two of us could read forever about like theories and experiences of life as a lesbian.
Right.
We will never be able to know all of that knowledge or speak with authority on that knowledge because that's just never an experience we'll have.
Right. And they talk about this in the movie
as much as I might want it.
Because Tom Hanks's son, we don't see him, Gunnar, is... Well, I forget what...
He had cerebral palsy.
And he's in a wheelchair bound, and he gets his experiences from watching. And there's this whole thing, basically that's what the whole movie is. People are getting their experiences from watching, and that's not living life.
I love how they
use it as a way of guilt.
It's brilliant, but it's also like it's noble in a way. Like Hanks isn't, or Bailey's character isn't, or Hanks's character Bailey, full transparency, isn't motivated purely by like greed or evil in the sense. He does have good intentions.
Oh, I think he thinks that he's doing the world a service.
That's why he's a good villain, though.
Right.
He thinks he's doing the right thing.
And part of his company is like there are benefits to this circle,
which is why Ty invented True You. There were good things that just went too far. So going back to the original question, are you better behaved when people are watching? Let me take that. Let me change that up.
No.
Have you ever committed a crime?
Yes.
Did you do it while anyone was watching?
I mean, no. But then I was caught. So
right. Just like May.
Mine was worse than May. I mean, do we want to tell the story?
You don't have to. I know which one you're talking.
Yeah. I mean, I've talked about it on my podcast, Gossip Guys, on iTunes and Stitcher.
You don't want full transparency on that show.
That's true. There's too many skeletons in the closet for my co-host.
But
I don't. It's a difficult question because you're not going to steal a Snickers bar if everyone's watching, and you're not going to kill someone if everyone's watching. Obviously, those are helpful things. Mm-hmm. But if everyone's watching or you're always watching, you're just never going to do anything. I think you're just going to be paralyzed by fear of what people are going to do. So you'll be good, but you'll be bored, boring, and you're just frozen.
It's also when you think about it like that, you'll be good. You will be good because it's almost a way of creating obedience. And who are you obedient to?
Yeah, it's Brave New World shit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And on a more like realistic, what would the real life analog of this be? I'm thinking now is before the internet, there wasn't all this record of like shit you could say or pictures of you or whatnot.
Right.
I mean, you would obviously have photographs and whatnot and sometimes home movies, but a lot of that stuff would just be like stories you remembered. But now, and there's like shit on the internet that I've made that I am horrified is out there.
Embarrassed, yeah.
Embarrassed, like fan fiction, being a total asshole on forums and whatnot. And it was because I was fucking 13 years old and didn't know what the hell I was doing, and I was an entitled brat.
Right, and everyone, I think, has no one knows what they're doing, and and now with the internet, it's out there forever.
Exactly, and I was at least lucky enough that happened at a point in the internet where it wasn't like so like ubiquitous. Like I can kind of, it's always going to be there, but I can kind of like hide from it versus someone's like posting that shit on their Facebook.
Right.
Where that's always kind of there. Like people going through people's old Twitters and having to delete comments because of maybe it was just a really shitty thing to say, but you've grown since then. I think that's where it comes down to with are you always being watched versus just like how real life is where we're not. Because if you're always being watched, then you can't really grow because you're so careful not to make mistakes.
That's true, and you have to make mistakes to grow. Exactly. Well, and yeah, I mean that's a fascinating point because I mean, yeah, you're gonna say something you regret, say something that you didn't know what you were talking about, and that follows you forever now.
Yeah.
Like, and people get torn down all the time, fair or not. But I mean, it's they just everything comes back, right? Mm-hmm. And yeah, I had several message boards. I was in chat rooms when I was a kid. That was like what you did, especially when you were single and not cool. Like that. What are you gonna do at night? You're gonna go on. Like, you're going to explore the internet.
Single and not cool, Andy's new podcast.
Well, now it doesn't work. I'm both of those. I'm the opposite of both of those things.
Oh, maybe one. I'll give you one.
Which one? No comment. All right.
No comment.
Full transparency.
Full transparency.
It's the uncool part, I know. I'm still uncool.
You're not cool.
But trying to be cool is the least cool thing.
Yeah, and we learned that when we watched Free Fire earlier this week.
Tom Hanks fan is.
Let's get back to the movie. Let's talk about our cast, and maybe we'll get into the story points through them. Who do you want to start with?
I would love to talk about Tyler Feet, John Boyega's character.
All right, I was going to save him for last.
Oh, okay, then sure.
Because I want to bring in some more book stuff, but...
Okay, well, because I feel like he had the most potential, and I'm not sure the movie capitalized on it.
All right, let's jump into Ty. Okay, so... I'm just going to give you what... Yeah, you're right. You felt like there was potential there and it was maybe missing.
Well, I mean, he's just not in it enough, I think, for some of it. Or, like, we get the meet cute, kind of. Again, feels very convenient that she happens to bump into the founder of True You, all this stuff. And it's just like, it was a weird... That scene felt weird to me. But then, like, they had a connection, kind of. They both were kind of real in that moment, which you're watching a movie where no one's acting... real in the circle. The only people that seem like genuine people are Mercer and May's parents, essentially.
Yeah, exactly. All the people outside the circle.
So you do believe that there's a connection there. He gets her wine. I'm
just going to say, again, spoilers for the book.
Yeah.
Because they do a whole bigger plot line with Ty. In fact, I was shocked when he took her down to... see the hard drives and all that, or that space, because he says he's the inventor of True You.
Yeah.
In the book, it's a secret who he is, and it's this whole big plot point where May has no idea who this guy she's been screwing around with, both figuratively and literally, actually.
Oh, so there's you get the romantic
but
thing,
it doesn't
never
really
goes there.
Yeah, it never really goes there.
Which I'm okay with. That wasn't like what I wanted.
It was actually really cool in the book, though.
Yeah.
And I get it. There was a lot of things that it's a big book, and they had to cut it down to its essentials. But I think Ty maybe suffers the most. Like, this was a pretty solid adaptation.
Yeah.
They kind of streamlined some things. We lost some characters. We compressed some stuff.
Yeah.
But I think it was pretty successful, except for the Ty stuff, because he shows up and he's the one person at the circle that May and Annie they can't identify him, which is so frightening because it's like everybody's at the circle.
That's true. We all know who.
And there's like this whole plot where Annie and May are like, Annie's like, who the fuck is this guy you're seeing? It's like, he's really nice, but like I think he's a spy for a different company. And he introduces himself as Calden, and we don't know he's Ty until the very end. And then it's like, what the fuck? And it really sells the ending where he's like, we have to stop the circle.
Right.
Because Ty's whole thing in the book is, it's kind of there, and maybe it's not there in the movie, and I want to know how you took the ending, essentially. Because Ty's point in the... Because everything kind of is different after Mercer's death in the movie.
Right.
There's never a period where she goes back to her parents and has the cameras off. I think it stays on the whole time. And I think we actually meet up with Bailey and Stenton after that.
Okay.
In the book, Ty's thing is... we have to shut the circle down. Basically, you have to use your platform.
Which is kind of in there. We don't get his motive. Like there's a line where he says, like, I didn't create True You for this. But he never says actually what he created it for, which I think would help. And also, we had maybe 2 scenes where they were kind of colluding together, maybe.
Yeah.
And then
I feel like he's in the movie, I mean, outside of background shots where he's watching stuff happen, he has 3 scenes in the movie.
yeah, and then it's like kind of an off-screen weird like voiceovers thing where she's driving back to the circle to do the plan.
Yeah.
And he basically just like, oh, I got, this is going to be huge. It's all going to be out there. And I was like, wait, what? Like, I
don't
know
think they have the relationship for that at that point.
Yeah, it seems, and as also, he's just like, whatever you need. I think he says whatever you need. And if I'm him, and I've watched her completely lose herself in this, like May starts as this genuine person, and then she gets lost and becomes basically the EdTV Truman Show person, the star of The Circle, 10 billion people watching her. And she is getting off on it too. Like she's lost herself, she's lost her family, she lost Mercer.
She does in fact get off on it for real in the movie. Or in the book.
Interesting. See, that sounds interesting.
Yeah, no, there's a lot of stuff that on the cutting room floor. But actually, I think that line specifically, just knowing what I know about movies, it sounds like it was a fix in the edit. Where it's like, this is a little unclear, let's throw in a line. And that happens. That's not, I'm not going to criticize the movie for doing that. But that would be my guess. It's like, we need a little bit more clarification on what's going to happen, so let's have this phone call.
Right. Well, no, the phone call
which doesn't
made
make sense,
but like it just was easy and like too quick. I felt like. Yeah. And again, like if I'm Ty, I don't necessarily trust this woman anymore.
What do you take? Okay, let's talk about the ending.
Okay.
Because we didn't talk about the actor at all. No, we'll come back. Now we're at the ending. Okay, what do you think of the ending? How did you make of it?
It was interesting, which is a lame word. Well, because it's not open-ended. Like, it kind of...
Did the goodness...
Did good win out? Yeah. I don't think so. Mm-hmm. Because, I mean, her solution to... I mean, you have to talk about how Mercer... Basically, she ends up killing Mercer. Like, he got killed by the friend zone. And
sure did.
Poor Mercer. But yeah, Soul Search goes horribly wrong. Her friend dies in front of everyone. She's broken, whatever. And her solution to wreck the circle is basically to do the same thing that she's been volunteered for herself to Tom Hanks and Patton Oswald's characters.
Yeah.
And yes, that brings transparency to them, but I don't think that's necessarily the lesson.
No, well, it's certainly not the lesson, but is that...
It's not going to help.
The intention.
Yeah.
Here's where the ending... I feel like it's doing too much of the books thing and too much of the own thing. Because the very Hollywood movie moment ending is, we're making you and you transparent. Yeah, now all your shit's out there.
Yeah.
And they're kind of like truly the villains at that point, and like, we're fucked.
Right.
Which was great.
Best line in the movie, maybe.
Yeah. Which was super great, of course. But that's nowhere in the book. And I don't think it makes sense that Ty would help May make things more transparent.
That's not what he...
If her direction is supposed to be, oh, we're gonna just improve the circle, we're gonna fix the circle, because I think it's close to the book's ending, where the movie's ending it's a downer, because it's like, oh shit, we did lose all of our privacy. But that's the opposite of what Ty's going for.
Right.
So I don't know why
I thought they were going to try and blow it up, right?
Which is what... Yeah. It's much more clear in the book, and again, I'm being that guy. But in the book, that's exactly his thing. He desperately gets May to come down. This is after she's find out finally who he is and whatnot.
Yeah.
And that brings a lot of authority to is like, this is why you can't do this. I know, I'm one of the founding fathers here. You have to use your platform, and this is obviously, she's got her camera off and whatnot. It's like, I'll help you, but we need to stop the circle, essentially, because it's going to be like a company takes over a nation, takes over the government, and that's kind of what the movie leads to too, but it's a little vaguer there. And then she basically betrays Ty and gets him turned in, and the end of the movie is like, and we averted the apocalypse, thank God, and we got Ty not arrested, but like quite fired.
A dark ass ending.
It's the same ending, but like much clearer.
Right, and it kind of makes May more of a villain at the end, which is interesting.
Well, not villains per se, but like her priorities are with the private, or the removal of privacy for everyone. But yeah, it feels like the book hits that Black Mirror's Twilight Zone ending a lot harder than it does here, where it almost... I think the movie has too much of like, but like, we're cool here at Google and whatnot,
Yeah.
and BuzzFeed, where it's like, we are the future. Especially that last shot where they're walking into the light.
Yeah.
That it feels like it's supposed to be positive, but the actual context is negative. The last shot works a lot better for me at selling the dark ending.
The multiple screens. And
Well,
then,
specifically,
yeah.
because I love the very beginning where we see her kayaking, and they do that Pixar, that it's obviously existed before Pixar, but they put out like a storytelling thing where it's like, the beginning of your movie, show your character doing the thing they love. And
Yeah,
the very first thing we see
kayaking.
is May kayaking, she's alone, she's at peace. And at the very end of the movie, she's kayaking again, but then there's just fucking drones everywhere.
Yeah, right.
All of her privacy is gone, but she is submitted.
Yeah,
to
she smiles.
Yeah.
She looks like, I mean, she's the most made up in that scene, too. Like, she looks
Yeah.
like she's ready for the cameras.
She's ready for her close-up, yeah.
Right.
It's all a performance, and that sells the ending for me much more than the very weird, we're turning on you, Tom Hanks and Patton Oswald. Like, that moment, I want to like it because it's like, oh, this is such a reversal of fortune, but with the ending they go for, it doesn't work for me.
Yeah.
Like, she needed to do that to Ty if they wanted to go this ending, not to them.
Right. Yeah, and in a way, it's kind of a power move
Yeah.
to, like, lead the circle. Mm-hmm. Have you ever kayaked?
I've never kayaked.
It's fun.
This movie didn't make me want to, especially that middle scene.
That's true. Oh, yeah, that is... Yeah, I mean, don't go out on a foggy, dark, pitch black
Take a
night.
life jacket.
Yeah, that also...
Or
don't-
a sea change camera.
There you go, and don't steal the kayak as well.
All right. Well, what did you think of John Boyega's performance? Because we got to talk about cast.
I think he was hamstrung by the character. He's a charming guy, kind of. Just,
I always love seeing, like, that's the thing. Everybody in this movie, I was like, oh, I'm so delightful. It's just delightful that you're here.
Right. I think it didn't do like a ton for me, but I liked who he was. I believed that he was Ty, and it made perfect sense. It wasn't really surprising to me.
Yeah.
So he sold that, but yeah, beyond that, I feel like it's hard because like he just didn't have a ton to do.
Yeah.
But he was kind of just John Boyega, like a little bit of Force Awakens, kind of charm.
He wasn't as goofy, though.
No, he wasn't as goofy or as, I guess, naive.
It's certainly my least favorite performance of his I've seen, and that doesn't mean it's bad.
That
it's
and
just
Attack the
fine.
Block. I think those are the only two I've seen.
I've maybe seen one more, but yeah, nothing comes to mind. It's probably just those two. I think he does succeed in one point. Accent.
Yeah.
Is his more believable than Emma Watson's?
I think so.
I definitely think
Because
so.
Emma Watson's,
It falters in a lot
it
of
felt
aspects.
fairly,
it was
I was like,
pretty
this is a British
you
girl
could tell.
talking like an American. Yeah.
You could tell.
Yeah.
Which-
Even in the opening scene, I think was maybe one of the worst occurrences of that.
Yeah.
Like with Mercer helping her with the car.
It almost felt like there was a few times where they had to ADR it.
There was some...
I can't tell if it was just me or like because our projection was actually a little weird at the theater we saw it.
AMC?
Usually very good.
Transparency, though.
Yes.
They failed
AMC
us.
16 Burbank, you need to do better. Well, now everybody knows where we watch these movies, so next time Thanksgiving, they're going to be there.
Yeah, the
All
sea
our
change. The cameras will be on us.
Oh, man.
Where are they laughing? When are they laughing?
I thought it was funny. It wasn't a packed theater. It's pre-opening night when we saw it, so hopefully...
I would say more people loved the text on the screen. That was the favorite of it. And there was some great stuff on that.
I really did like that, especially once, it got to the point... After the seeing your parents have sex scene
Right.
and the Mercer death, but the montages before all that stuff, where she's like, getting new screens and working,
Right.
and we're like, how did that work for you?
And like seeing her rating go up
Yeah.
and then all that stuff. I mean, it worked. Like that, I wasn't bummed that we sped through that. 'Cause,
No, I think
yeah.
I think it was necessary. But I remember, again, going back to the book, just like they were really, really good at like stressing me out with like how many things she did.
That's true. It seemed very easy
It
for
was
her
so easy.
to juggle this because it was like, wait, I spent all this time to get an 87 on my normal ranking. Now I have 8,000 emails, and it was just like, all of a sudden she had a 99 on her other thing, and then she was perfect in the things, posting pictures and all that stuff.
And trying to think of how you could translate like that increasing stress of like being distracted by so many different things you have to do, which is something I'm terrible at.
Well, it's also, I mean, very true to reality now,
Yeah.
where everyone's multitasking to their detriment, but we felt like we need to do everything at once, or like have 18 windows open.
Yeah, going back to the BuzzFeed thing, that's
Yeah.
what it was like. You have your Slack channel, and then you have your emails, and like being on the BuzzFeed email, there's always like 10,000 birthday emails or welcome
God.
emails.
Yeah, company emails are the worst.
Company emails suck. And then you also have like, oh, I'm helping shoot 2 videos this weekend. I have to edit my own video, and it's like here, and then there's fucking a party going over, and it's like that's nuts.
So much noise.
So much noise, and like it was conveyed so wonderfully in the book, and it just felt like it was breezy with these montages. And the only thing I could think of, and obviously I'm sure the filmmakers are very talented, very smart, they maybe tried this and it didn't work, but like I would have loved to have seen a representation of all the shit May has to attend to or like gets absorbed into, with like the screen turning in, kind of what they did at the very end, turning into smaller screens. So it's like, it starts split screen. It was like, okay, we have May, she's talking to someone on her thing, but then we see that screen and that conversation. And that stays there as she's walking around, and then we have another, like her email appear.
I think that could have been pretty,
Yeah, that would have like, and just like have that like hanging on her for a couple scenes actually. Like don't cut away and have it just be the montage, but imagine like all those screens going simultaneously while she's having a conversation with Annie or something.
Right. Someone comes up to you, and then all of a sudden it's like, oh, you got another follow-up email you have to write.
So it's like, that would have been like hard to watch just like literally, and like I think that would really convey that emotion, that sense of just being torn apart.
Now that you say yes, I want to. Well, no, now I want to see. I want to see that fucking scene. Yeah,
let's make that like not the circle, but let's take that idea and just make a movie with like, or a short, maybe just a scene.
Yeah. Well, because I mean, there's a lot in there. Like, because there's just too much. Mm-hmm. Too much TV. Too much.
I mean, that's how I feel right
content,
now, and
much.
I'm really bad at keeping on top of shit. If you didn't notice, this is the second time I'm gonna say it. This has like been a 4 or 5 month gap doing a podcast.
But I mean, part of that was like you wanted to take a break.
Self-reflection, and that's a thing where like I know immediately with like working at the Circle and like the idea of transparency, I would hate it because I'm not quite Mercer in the sense of, like, I do obviously have a podcast. I like being out there and getting attention, having social media.
Yeah, you act in all your projects.
Exactly. Yeah. I like putting my face out there. I'm an egomaniac like that. But
face.
Thank you. Yeah. But
transparency.
I need my respite time. I'm very introverted in that way, where it's like I love going out and hanging out with people, but I need like
me time.
I need double me time to recover. Like when we went to the marches or whatnot, I was like, all right, I'm done for the rest of the weekend, and then maybe some on Monday and Tuesday.
Privacy is sacred. Like, and that's
it's not like I'm doing anything cool. I'm just sitting on my butt watching Buffy or something, or Frasier. That recharges the batteries like nothing else. Full transparency.
Hey, good old Frasier.
Surprising no one. But
No,
yeah,
that's true.
if I even if I knew like, okay, all I'm gonna do is just literally the shit I do, eat tons of peanut butter out of the jar and watch Frasier. If there was someone watching me, I was like, I'm not gonna do
you
it.
Wouldn't do that.
And
you
then,
feel guilty about it, or yeah.
And then there's like this, and maybe I'm sure not everybody feels this way, but I think you probably have it because you have a bit of a performance personality side to you.
Somewhat.
Well, you have a fucking podcast. Yes, of course you do.
Gossip Guys Pod on iTunes.
But the sense of being always on.
Oh yeah.
Is so draining. Like it's like in the moment, like right now I'm on and I feel great. I'm excited.
Right.
But I'm gonna need to I'm gonna go to bed.
Well, yeah, when you're grooving, it's great. But then you get to that point where it's like it's done. It's no longer fun, and you feel like.
Which brings me to one of my favorite things in this movie.
Okay.
Annie performed wonderfully by Karen Gillan, because you could see
she probably was the best.
She's always on, and she burns the fuck out.
Right. This was. I think she might have been my favorite performance in the movie. I think we said that.
Well, better than Tom Hanks.
Well, Tom Hanks was great. It's honestly
no.
Too,
I agree. Yeah, I think they're the strongest here.
And we actually see kind of an arc with Annie as well. Like, it's more fleshed out. It's a little bit unclear, kind of what the end was, where she's in Scotland and just kind of like, I'm recharging and kind of away from the Circle.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. Is she like fired? Is she just okay. I don't know.
That was a problem, like, with the movie in general. Like, after the Mercer thing, like, the changes they had to make the movie work, the movie version work, everything was a little bit vague, and, like, Annie's story, like, it's not as obvious. Like, she's, like, being really bitchy and snide in the meeting where May suggests let's...
Right, but, like, rightfully so. I mean, let's have some questions about this company basically requiring everyone to vote and just turning into the governing force of a country.
Exactly. But it's done much more deftly than, like, this is bullshit and walking out. And then because Annie in the book, she, like, doesn't go home. She actually goes into a coma because she's so overworked, overstressed. I like that better. It is way better. Yeah. But
I do like seeing her in her native land of Scotland.
That was nice. Which, of course, she wasn't Scottish in the book.
Oh, okay. Well, yeah, no, I was going to say, she was definitely Scottish in the movie. Like, they let her do her native accent.
I think it's because, like, we got Karen Gillan. She's from Scotland. Doesn't matter.
Yeah, there was,
But, yeah, like, just seeing the slow transformation of how tired and just worn she looked was great. And, like, it's sad reality is, like, probably, like, in the middle of that arc, that visual arc, it's probably just like, oh, I'm just Karen Gillan without makeup right now, and it makes me look terrible.
I feel like they were doing like makeup to make her look worse.
Yes,
they were definitely doing that. Or like,
I always have that fear, like, as a male, like, oh, that girl's not wearing like, I think she's not wearing makeup regularly, and, like, then when she's actually not wearing makeup, it's like, are you really tired? What's going on?
Oh no!
I don't want to be that guy, but, like, I'm probably that guy 90% of the time. But no, she was fantastic.
But yeah, I mean, her story worked more than some of the other ones. Like, I thought
of the subplots, outside of the parents one, this one worked the best.
Right. Yeah. And let's talk about the parents.
Yeah, let's jump in. Who was the actress who played the mom? Do you know? Full transparency, I don't. I'm looking it up right now. Let's talk about Bill Paxton.
Well, I didn't even know he was in it, and he basically plays sick dad, which. Because we've lost Bill Paxton, it really hurt.
This must be his final film, and that hit all the more powerfully when it was.
I was just kind of. It was Glenn Headley
played the mom, and I'm gonna find out. Oh, she was in Dirty Rotten Scoundrels.
Don John.
One of John's favorite movies.
Oh, Dick Tracy.
So she's been in stuff. She was good, really good.
Well, the parents were just very supportive, nice people. They were clearly, there's that generational gap. Like, they are not a part of the circle. They're kind of just like, oh, it's a nice shiny object, and that's like it's one of those things you see kind of the nightmare like happen to them, but like it's at first it's the dream, right? Oh my God, my daughter! They were so proud.
Working at the coolest company,
in the world, like
making money,
right? Like telling the salary, bragging about their kid, and then all of a sudden. Oh no, we've lost our kid to a cult.
Exactly. Oh man, that's totally what it is too.
There was one of the comments was like, what if the circle was a cult? What would it be? And I was like, no, the circle is a cult. Like,
the comments were a nice touch. Yeah. Popping up everywhere.
Could you handle that, living your life just seeing comments about just every fucking thing?
No, especially if it was like, your podcast sucks, fuck you, you're fat. That's all it would be too. But no, even if it was like good shit all the time, that would just make me like a bad person, because I'd be like, I know exactly what I'm doing, and that'd make like.
And you don't want to do it like if you're doing something just to get that gratification. That's also
the gratification is very necessary in small doses. I love it, and please leave us a review on iTunes. Tweet us at TomHanksPod. Follow me at Elvis Kaboom.
Boom.
Thank you.
You gotta say it.
But no. But yeah, having that flurry, especially constantly, would be.
It's just exhausting, like everything else. This movie is kind of exhausting. Like I have a headache after the movie, but might have been the print. But
that's true. But going to Bill Paxton and keeping on the parents, did you realize that he pooped his pants at that one scene? Did you get that?
I got that he lost control of his bowels. I couldn't tell if he pooped or peed. I honestly, it was a bad shot. I thought.
Close. Yeah, I was.
I knew something like.
I wasn't sure. I was expecting them to cut that part out of the movie. I'm really glad they didn't. I just wish it was more clear what happened.
Yeah.
And like a good note on the adaptation. Like most of the scenes where May. Actually, there's a lot more scenes where May goes home to her parents' house and talks with Mercer. They're just like in their living room, and like it totally works in the book. But I'm really glad they were like, oh, let's make it so she's talking over Skype and we're like distancing them and like we're compressing the story a little bit. But it's like we don't. She stops leaving. That worked really well. And like
you
even
need
just
that
like
distance because I mean it was metaphorical, obviously.
Yeah, and even
literal.
like they're at like a family or neighborhood birthday party. Like that wasn't that just happened.
A barbecue, yeah,
that just happened at their house, and it's like that was a really nice touch, and rough. And when she stumbled upon them having sex, it was because their cameras were off, and she was so scared she went home to check on them, and then walked in on them.
Ooh,
and it was much more graphic in the book because it could be.
Yeah.
But we would have saw Paxton's penis if it was fully transparent.
Well, that was a great. I thought. I mean, it worked in the thing.
How was that?
And also,
like
the sound kept going while she turned around. That was great. And
have you ever walked in on your parents doing it?
Nope.
Me either. I'm not sure they ever have. I do have a younger sister, so I know they must have after me at one point.
Yeah, I'm sure they didn't stop having sex after you.
Yeah.
Our parents are probably having sex right now.
Our parents
together, yeah.
A foursome.
Yeah, exactly.
Full transparency.
That's more than that. I don't know what that is.
Oof. But that scene that was genuinely surprising for you.
Yes, no, it was. And
I think that's one of the best parts of the story. Yeah.
Right, and it was just like how terrible is this?
I know.
But she was just so into it, and I was just, how can you do it at all?
Oh,
what is the fascination with people that like to watch people just do their normal day? Like, why do people love reality TV so much?
The closest I've gotten into it is like, I really like, I like a lot of podcasts.
Yeah.
Usually they're more about people talking about a subject, like this very podcast we're in right now.
Right.
You're kind of getting to hang out with Elvis and Andy, but it's focused enough where it's like, they're talking about a thing, so it's less about the social component.
Right. If it was just us talking about our lives, unless we're Tom Cruise, no one or whatever.
I mean, but some people do, and like
right.
there are like Let's Plays and stuff on like YouTubers where it's like it's interesting to follow them because, and I watch some of this shit because it's like interesting background chatter, and I like the personalities usually, but I think what it comes to be for especially younger people who are like just crazy about this sort of thing, it becomes a substitute for socializing, and
it's almost like a drug.
Yeah.
Like validation or like the number of followers, all like your rating, all these various things, which I feel like it's only going to get worse.
No, it is going to get worse, and let's put a pin in that because I do want to talk about that at the very end to just kind of wrap things up. But and I think there's a point to like I get scared when I realize like there's too much noise. Like I can't focus if I don't have like music on or a podcast, and like I hate that about myself. But like too often I'm like I'll just play something and then I'll be able to write something down, or if I'm listening to a podcast, then it's easier to do chores. But it's like I don't take enough time to do quiet time.
Or like kind of nothing in a way. Yeah, no, quiet. I'm totally with you where it's like I feel like I'm wasting time if I'm not doing something. So even just a walk, like I need to be listening to an audiobook. Or I need to be on the, like, okay, time to catch up with calls or whatever it is. Like, or okay, downtime, I'm reading a book. Like, I feel like meditation or something would be so helpful. Or just
I would just love to like open my sketchbook and draw like whatever the hell I want to draw without having to have a video on in the background. If I could just be like quiet and drawing in the park.
Were you so like that as a kid, right? Like, I mean, you didn't need to have something on while you were drawing as a kid, right?
Yeah, especially as a kid, because like this was
that's all
enough focus.
Right.
But I'm so
now we're
distracted.
split.
Yeah, and I'm so aware of so many other things that it's hard to imagine the capacity to concentrate on focus on one thing. Like even when I'm like writing and I'm like I'm in the zone with editing at work, I'm still listening to something, or I'm never fully concentrating on my voice, fully concentrating on that one thing, and like the circle is the opposite of that, which
just divide yourself completely.
You're never focusing on one thing, especially not the person right in front of you ever again. Good God. We're talking about Bill Paxton.
Well, I think it's okay. Well, I was going to say, I mean, it's interesting because, I mean, you talk about in the book, there's a lot more sexual relationships, they're just relationships in general.
Yeah.
And I thought it was actually, I like that in this movie there isn't any of it. And I think that just shows kind of the danger of it, or like the isolation of it, or like there'd be so many people in that world that want to date May Holland because they could be on TV or whatever.
Yeah.
Or
there's even like just a halo effect of like watching someone through either video, like the movie. Obviously, people get crushes on movie stars all the time.
Yeah.
They're generally very good looking, and that's why they're movie stars.
Right.
Not to say that they're not good at acting too and other stuff, but there's a halo effect because it's like, oh, I feel like I know this person, even though they're playing a character. Or even just like following someone on Instagram. It's like, ooh, I know it's usually the best of their stuff.
Right.
They're putting out their best. It's a performative thing again. But it's like the way you consume them, because it's through this prism, it's so much more insidious that way versus like if May was just a person you knew, like you might think she's cool, but you probably just pass her by. Not, again, Emma Watson, you wouldn't just pass by.
Probably not.
Even if she wasn't just Emma Watson.
Right,
but,
right.
The point being, that the fame just kind of catapults her. Did I cut you out? I can't.
No. I was going to ask you, I mean, like, do you want to be famous in this world?
It's weird because I've got a lot of friends. I mean, nobody's actually famous, but I know a lot of people who are like Twitter famous, like guests I've had on the show that are like bigger than me and like are awesome people, and they're really good at it. And I always think like, I want to have more of a following, but I also realize I'm not putting out enough stuff outside of the podcast. To really necessitate that. And like, I don't want to have the responsibility of like, ooh, now I have to put out stuff I'm not super proud of just to keep content going. And that's like, there's a whole wrestling thing with that. And of course there's always going to be like this envious part. It's like, I kind of want to have more fame. Or even if it's just like, I want to be part of the cool club that is like recognized by famous people.
Right. You want that check mark.
Exactly. Well, maybe not the check mark specifically, but
I know.
there's that.
I think that's a dangerous thing.
I want to be in the gang of 40. And there, because there's like it, even if it's not true, and these are, we both have friends who are like, ooh, they're kind of big and stuff,
right?
But they're just people, and we were already talking about how dealing with like more emails is like just really shitty, and that's probably most of what it is. Plus all those like, you're fat, you're ugly, you're stupid, I don't like your
just
podcast.
Things trying to break you down, because that's all that happens if you become popular or famous. Is like people. I mean, there are people that revere you or love you, but they hold you up to this like impossible standard, or they just want to tear you down and break you.
And I would love that, but honestly,
you would love that.
I would love to be torn down and revered at the same time. But I maybe I'm not the right person for it, so maybe it's a good thing that I'm not super. Like, I don't know if I don't want to be Tom Hanks famous. Maybe Ty Lafitte famous, where nobody quite knows what I look like.
Right. Well, I think there's something to be said, like, if Tom Hanks' career started right now, what that would look like. Because I think, almost in a way, the older generation, I feel like, like Patrick Stewart, Ian McClellan, like, they're just, if they have a grasp on social media, and just everyone is just like, oh, they're just so delightful. Everyone loves them. When you're a little bit older, they kind of, you just like, I don't know, they become sweethearts. I think Tom Hanks is on that kind of, that edge, because he got to be famous and be a star before social media.
Yeah.
I think that's there's almost like this demarcation, and then growing up on it, and
I think you pointed out the best thing. Like, I want to earn, if I'm going to be famous or notorious in any way, I want to earn that through putting out like something that people really like. That might be when I'm Patrick Stewart age, and like, and at that point it might be easier to deal with it because like I'm an older person.
Right.
I know how to turn off that desire for that attention, which kind of drives May, that external validation. Because I think we all have that, especially in like sort of the entertainment adjacent.
Right. I mean, the function of wanting to entertain someone is there's kind of that other.
You need that audience, so you need the external
Right.
validation. I think that's kind of a weird way that we all put it out there. But yeah, the circle's still gonna be bad.
And I was gonna. This is kind of a not much of a segue, but it struck me. I don't know if you know this, but earlier this year, Emma Watson kind of had a too transparent moment. Very like she had nude photos leaked online.
I don't remember if I remember this specific instance, but it happens.
Not like it happens all the time.
Far too often.
Right, and it's terrifying and awful. But it was like I just like I couldn't not think about that because like that was kind of
that is kind of like
she
movie,
like had this sort of prep in this role. Like so, it was an interesting thought because I didn't think about that.
Right,
like she basically lived the circle and then true life like. True you, like the actual real life brought out shit that she obviously didn't want to see.
It's almost unfortunate that the movie didn't really get to utilize that. I mean, not that we should.
The most cynical person in the world could say that was a marketing ploy for this movie. I don't think it was at all.
No.
Obviously it wasn't, and I don't think Emma Watson would ever. But like it was almost too perfect in its awfulness.
Yeah, and it's like it's kind of shocking that wasn't. I mean. There is like in the book where like she like sucks his cock or something and
Jesus,
it's
crude
and that's like in the certain nobody necessarily watched it but like the data is always
right,
there.
It's in there.
And that's like the closest they made outside of her parents getting. I guess that is really the closest parallel.
Right, because now
that's out there.
Her parents' sex tape is basically out to everyone in the world
who wants to see it. Yeah. Without their permission and. Yeah, that is fucked up. Because, you shouldn't leak... That's why privacy is necessary, and that's why the circle ultimately is a terrifying thing. No matter what Tom Hanks says, because we got to talk about him for a little bit.
We do. This is the Tom Hanks podcast, right?
This is the Tom Hanks podcast. Holy shit. Tom Hanks is Eamon Bailey.
I think he's great.
I think he's great. I mean, it's the only performance we've seen in 2017, but let's compare it to our most recent Hankses, which we got last year. 2016, we had 4 Hanks performances. Sullenberg in Sully.
Okay.
The dude from Hologram for the King, I don't remember. Oh, AC. What was it? Alan...
Oh, God.
Alan Carter. So don't just sit down. It's fine.
I was going to go get the DVD.
But AC and Hologram for the King... the Robert
Mr.
Langdon,
Ithaca.
Mr. Ghost Dad, and then Robert Langdon in Inferno, and David Pumpkins, of course. But we're not going to count.
Well, that's number one.
Cheating, yes.
Yeah.
But like, how do you think it compares to the last 4 films he put out?
My heart remains with the Hologram for the King.
You prefer that to this movie?
I think so, and also, I mean, he's the lead in Hologram for the King.
He gets more to do.
More.
It's true.
We get to see like this beautiful love story, kind of. See a lot of Hanks in that movie.
We do see a lot of Hanks in that movie. And just going in as blind as I was for Hologram for the King, it surprised me more. So that was delightful.
But this was right under that.
I think The Circle I like a little bit more as a movie, just because it. And I think it helps that I read the book, so I kind of can fill in the gaps.
Yeah.
Same way, like, I love Scott Pilgrim, but, like, by reading the books, it makes the movie a million times better, because it fills in, like,
okay.
a lot of that. I would actually compare those two in that exact adaptation way very closely. Like, that's exactly how I felt about The Circle when I was watching it tonight.
Okay.
It's like, this is exactly what it was like when I read the books of Scott Pilgrim after seeing the movie.
Okay.
Weird tangent. Anyway, yeah, I think so. Do you think it's it's his second best compared to those?
Yeah. And Bridge of Spies a couple years earlier, I think it's on that level as well. I really liked him in Bridge of Spies.
I really did too. I got the recency bias, but I think I'm gonna go for I like this one a little bit more. It's probably not going to stand up over time. So when we get to the TomHanksgiving episode at the end of this, bring this up. But I think I'm just excited for this performance because it's the one we've kind of been looking forward to.
Right.
Let's see a dastardly Hanks.
Well, because we've seen Hanks in a lot of movies almost be like a Trojan horse for some kind of dangerous ideas that maybe even the filmmakers don't really know.
Yeah.
Like You've Got Mail and stuff. Like people, we forgive a lot of different things because Tom Hanks is so charming and likable. And I don't even it's not even intentional on their part sometimes.
And to finally utilize that.
Right.
Weaponize that.
Weaponize Hanks in a scary way. I mean, like, literally, if Tom Hanks, that person was the CEO of this company, like, that just makes it that much more terrifying because he is that charming. He is that likable. He's a trustworthy guy. He's got a son that's in a wheelchair, like, and he's not lying.
He's a perfect politician.
Yeah.
And of course he does, as we find out in the end of the movie, he's got the backdoor dealings too that he doesn't want anybody to see.
Right. I mean, he did something with the senator, clearly, and I mean, when he says we're fucked, clearly he has
actually,
I
think that was something that they didn't touch on in the movie, but it's kind of hinted through that.
Didn't need to know.
No, and it totally worked, but like, yeah, the implication that the senator who was calling them out at the beginning of the movie,
right.
Something came out, the Circle had that information, they leaked it.
Yeah.
And that's part of the problem with like giving so much power to this company is they can control and shut down anybody they want. So it becomes oppression like that. There's no true democracy. It wouldn't work.
Right. Do you want a politician that you could read every single one of their emails or calls? And second question, would any politician ever be a politician? Like, that would just end people becoming...
You know, I will say...
We need some more transparency than we have.
We do.
Obviously.
But honestly, we have a lot of transparency with this fucking idiot we got in office right now.
And it somehow doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter.
Yeah.
No one gives a shit.
Yeah. You could argue that we know way too much and it still doesn't matter. It
didn't stop him from getting elected. It's not gonna. He's not impeached now. Yeah. It's
true.
The Circle, but yeah, it's.
But
funny.
I mean, obviously, if we had complete transparency on him, there's no way he'd still be in office within 1 minute. But you could say that about almost everyone on the planet.
Yeah, everybody.
No one would ever be elected because there's something like. You called someone a whore when you were drunk one time when you were 15 years old. Or like, I mean, you're going to make mistakes. You're going to sound like an asshole. You're going to do all these different things. I don't know why that was my example. But.
And that goes back to the point we made much earlier on in the podcast where it was like, by having this always being watched, by full transparency, it really forces you to always be on, and you can't make mistakes. You can't grow from your mistakes. You know, if... Patton Oswald, I'm sorry I'm singling you out, Patton, but I think you've talked about this sort of thing before. He's been on Twitter forever.
Yeah.
If he made an off-color joke that, like, by the standards of now, is definitely not okay. And wasn't okay then, but, like, maybe the culture has changed so rapidly because of all these advances in technology and whatnot. He made an off-color... I did it. I made a joke but I just wasn't around when Twitter came out. I mean, I was around, but I wasn't on Twitter.
You weren't on Twitter, yeah.
But the point is, like, you made this off-color, and it wasn't the right joke then. But, you know, Patton Oswalt especially has become such a crusader for social justice, and, like, he's certainly not, like, the authority to go to as another cis white guy. But, you know, he's an ally. So to, like, throw that in his face, it's like... You should... I mean, it's not like he should deny that ever happened, but you can't... Where does the forgiveness come in?
And I feel like we as a nation, we as a world need that.
I mean, we certainly shouldn't... Yeah.
But you don't want to forgive everything. There's obviously a line.
We haven't had enough thinking about, like, the Holocaust recently.
Oh, God, yeah.
And the mistakes of America.
Yeah.
But... As individual, yeah, and to really close this,
close the circle.
To close the circle for this podcast,
right?
I do feel like this is going to be the direction we're going in. It is the direction we're going in already. Do you feel like we're going to see a version of the Circle, 10, 50 years down the line? Like, is this the direction the human race is going, or is
I think
the current
so.
political climate here to and Al Gore's new movie here to, like, kill us all before it happens?
Well, yeah, I mean the planet might just explode before any of this happens.
Yeah.
Part of me wants to be hopeful that, like, the current political climate and how fucked it is will inspire us to move in different directions or inspire a whole new generation or just a new political way of thinking. But realistically, or that could actually somehow be the Trojan horse that brings in a technology thing. Like, say a true you showed up, took down Trump. Everyone, like, oh my God, we all joined them. It's so wonderful. And then all of a sudden we're a part of this automaton thing that, like, it's...
There's a part of me that's kind of like, I know it would be bad for me and the people I know as individuals. But if I jump back and I maybe put on my Eamon Bailey glasses, and I look at the human race, I could see evolution taking us into a point where we're much more community before individual, where we're much more like ants in a hive versus the small groups of tribes, individuals within tribes, within larger social groups. And I don't know if we would go. I'm not a scientist. I have no evidence, but like that's what this movie made me think. Where it was like,
it's interesting.
It's much more hive mind at that point. You're not.
Right.
I mean, like May is an individual because she's spotlit, but when everybody's doing this, are they going to be following her? It feels like.
Right, well, who's the queen in that scenario?
Yeah.
I mean, there's something to be said about the community because I feel like everyone today is all about themselves and all about their bubble. And I think society could be benefited by everyone kind of sharing with each other and working to the similar goals or whatever those goals are. But I don't
keeping
I don't
up
want
your individuality,
right? And then you're just then it's basically the communism that we like, the evil communism you see, that everyone is the same. You don't have any freedom.
Body snatchers, yes.
Right? Exactly. We're all one.
But that's like the interesting thing about like the good body snatchers movies or takes.
Yeah.
It's like it's not necessarily a wrong thing for the species or the planet, because if you think about it, like, oh, if everyone is, I don't want to say assimilated, but that's the best word I got.
Okay.
But it actually does benefit more people more of the time. The only thing you're like taking away is your individuality.
Right.
Like, that's obviously something I would never want to happen, but like if you separate it, where versus like, okay, so we have penguins. Penguins are like, oh great, but penguins would be a lot better and safer and healthier and more prosperous if they were all pod penguins.
Well, if we basically put all the penguins in a zoo.
Not in a zoo.
Okay.
Like, maybe I'm not getting at it, but like if it did more for the species that we lost our individuality, even if it was like in a circle way where it's like we still have it but we're always transparent, I would still argue against it, even if I know that might actually improve the species.
Right.
Does that
I mean,
make sense?
Yeah, and kind of in a way where it's like, I mean, the circle or something like it would almost promise like something like universal health care, all these various things that everyone gets. It's all equal, but then we're all the same. But like, there's something good in all being on the same...
I guess it always comes back to like, then you're obedient, then there's no...
freedoms.
Like, there is control, and that's, I think that's the grand allure of like these dystopian sci-fi stories is that there's this bit of it would be nice, it would be safer, it would be better,
it'd be maybe easier, but then you're giving it up. You're giving yourself up to
too much.
To who?
I need
to
that
what?
privacy.
Yeah. I think I'm going to turn off all social media now.
Yeah. Don't forget to follow us on Twitter at TomHanksPod. I'm at Elvis Kaboom. He is at Wandering Green with an E.
There it is.
Technically 3 E's, but 4 if you count Wandering.
Yep, that's true.
But I think
did we close the circle?
I think we're about to close the circle. I believe that despite the fact that it might be better for the community and the species, we need to, I mean, obviously privacy is absolutely necessary, and this idea of transparency is still taking over, and we don't really know where it's going to go, but fight for your privacy, fight for your liberties, fight for your ability to log off.
Fight for individuality, fight for being you. But
and
being your true you, but not forced to be your true you.
And don't forget to follow us.
Elvis still wants that fame.
I do. Bailey talks about he believes in the perfectibility of human beings. And you know what? I think we already got that. His name
is Tom Hanks.
Is Tom Hanks. And that's going to be closing the circle for us this week. Andy, thanks so much for being on the show.
You're welcome. Thanks for having me. For all things. This was a heavy one.
Of course.
Yeah.
Plug your show. You already did it a couple times, but one more time.
If you enjoyed me on this show, you can find me and my co-host Aaron Davidian on Gossip Guys Pod on iTunes and Stitcher, and that's us taking Gossip Girl way too seriously. And Gossip Girl actually has some similarities to The Circle. I mean, Gossip Girl is an all-seeing force in the Upper East Side. Yeah. Secrets are lies. There's a lot in there.
And don't forget to check out the back catalog of TomHanksgiving.
Oh, that's true.
Andy's in a lot of wonderful episodes, some of my personal favorites.
And I make some cameos in other ones. I'm kind of like just dotted all around.
Yes.
Like there's just audio of me everywhere.
You can't get rid of Andy.
I'm in the cloud now.
And social media?
Well, you said Wandering Green, and that's on Instagram and Twitter. And
great.
That's enough.
That is
plenty.
After
this movie. I don't want don't come to Burbank.
Please leave us alone. So follow me on Twitter and Instagram, Elvis Kaboom. Go to check out splotstudios.com. That's our home for the podcast, for video content. You can also follow us, like us, subscribe. That's it. Subscribe on youtube.com/Splot Studios, where we're uploading the podcast on YouTube now with when it comes out on iTunes. And give us that rating. Give us those 100s.
Oh yeah, give us some smiles.
Don't forget to give us some smiles and zing us at TomHanksPod. And don't forget, most importantly, to join us next week when we finally tackle one of the greatest Tom Hanks movies of all times. Are you ready for this?
I'm not ready. I don't know which one you're gonna say.
It's time for Turner and Hooch. Until next time, thanks for listening.
Tom Hanks, we fell in love with you, Tom Hanks, just like so many do deeply, because you made us smile, and your great on-screen style. So that's why we give thanks, 'cause you got a friend